maybe there's something that you can. So we've got the 3 pages, contact support, products, product listing. In the contact support, which I've got the code up, this is a solution that I'm showing you, by the way. But in this, what you'll see is hopefully you recognize all of this. That's our table is there. And you might remember that we did a row span. All of that is in the table there. And then there's some more stuff below it, which is this bit of stuff here, all these H1s. And we've styled them so that we've got some on the borders. We've styled the border and everything. So we've got a border at the bottom to get those nice little blue lines. And all of that stuff, you have the code for that. That's not new. So all of that you've got. There's nothing new there until you notice that we've actually added this idea here of a thing called a div, and we've got an ID with it, which we've called container. That's kind of standardized in web development. Is we're going to give a container a div the name container, because and that will hold everything that will be in a particular page. And so in the first page that we're looking at, the contact support, we only have one div, and it's a container into which the entire page fits. And so we get the situation where we've got this gray background, but our actual page is sort of set with a limited width. And so how that happens is we throw everything into this container, and we just do that by putting a div tag around everything in the body and call it container. And then we can style that. And so in our styling, so yeah, in our styling, we is everybody in? Yeah. In our styling, we can set up this width of this page. And so what we've done is we say, okay, hash container, hash stands for the ID container. Whenever we have an ID in the body, if we want to style it in the style codes in the CSS, we can refer to it with the hash. So the hash is for an ID, and you see what we've done there. Really, it's just about where the data is sitting, or sorry, the contents of that element, the container, the div container, where they're all sitting. They're all sitting. We got some padding, so nothing is less than 20 pixels away from the border. We've got a margin left and a margin right auto, and we've set the confined width of 800 pixels. And we made the background color white. As opposed to the body, if we look at the body of our document includes the outside, and that's got this nice gray color. So that gives us our page of limited to 800 pixels sitting on the body, and the body is gray background, whereas our document itself is white. Okay, so that's what we do with the contact support. Let's look at the other document. So this is the product details document, and this one's kind of interesting because what's happening here is we've got 2 columns. And so we're going to, if you look at the page, you'll see it's doing the same as the other one. We got our gray background, and we've got our white page sitting on our gray background. So this part of the code is the same, right? The body and the container. So we should do the contact support one first, because you can copy some of this code over, right? This stuff here, the body and the container, are going to be the same in the 3 pages, right? So they're all going to be 800 pixels wide, and they're all going to have the gray background for the body and the white background for the actual document itself. So this container stuff is the same. But what's different in this one, if we look at the body, we've got our container div, which comprehends the entire page. Oh, well, almost. We've got this grid clear thing at the bottom. We'll talk about that in a minute. But our container, our container, actually, I think it does comprehend the entire page. Yep. And so we got our container, and then we've got these other things inside of them, right? So we've got a div, which is just for the product photo. And the only thing that's inside that element, that div, is a picture, an image. And here's all the details relating to that image. So the only thing that's in there in this div here called product photo is this photo. All right. So that photo that photo is actually located in an image directory, which is easily located from where we are now, because this is this probably, you might want to, when you do this in your own, you're probably going to end up with something like that, um, basically go from the current directory to that. But you can see that here, yes. So we're editing the product details. And so going from the current directory inside the image IMG directory, we find all of these photos, including the photo on this page, which is this thing here. So that's what that's about. That gives that picture. But we have to be able to make it so that it sits to the side here to the left and everything else sits to the right. So how we do that is we're going to do some styling on this particular ID. And so we got another ID, which is the details. And as you might guess, that's everything else. So this is the product photo here, and everything over here is the product details. So the product details is going to hold everything else. And so that goes down to here. Then at the end, we've got this special little div, which is just about, it's about, so when we get to the end of the page, we're going to go back to having 0 columns. So here, everything above there has got our columns. And so we just made up this word. Grid clear is just a made up word, but we'll see how it works in the CSS. What we do is we take that div and we style it by doing a clear starting from the left, so that we get rid of all of our columns. So this is just to wipe out the columns when we get to the end, so that the columns are constrained to inside the container. So what's happening here? We have to set up 200 pixels width for the picture and 600 pixels for the other within our 800 pixels. And so how we do that, and by the way, all this other stuff, right, the main, we did that in previous labs. But what we've got is we now have these two divs. We've got the product photo div and we've got the product details div. Now this bit of styling that we're doing here is actually on the product photo div, but it says product photo space IMG. And what that means is the image tag, which is found inside the element, sorry, the product photo element, the image tag, which is found inside the product photo element, that we want to style it like this. And we're going to make it take up 100% of the width of whatever is available to it. But if you look at this, sorry, 100. Yeah, the image will take up 100% of the width of the product photo, but the product photo will only be given 200 pixels. And we'll see also that when we style the image, we set the height to automatic. So what that does is it makes the height relatively correct so that the shape of the phone stays the same. We've limited the width to a certain width, and so the height will also be limited so that the picture doesn't skew. Now the other thing, the other division is given 600 pixels, and we're using these floats. What that does is it just orients whatever is inside that element will be oriented to that direction. Okay, and so that's what's happening there. And again, as I said, there's a fuller explanation of this in the sorry about this. My phone just starts talking to me, is that stupid Bixby thing or whatever. All right, so that's that. Then the last one is maybe more tricky. So this one, what we're doing is we're setting up 2 widths there, and we did that with 2 divs. And I've shown you the code there. And by the way, as I said, you can look at the other video that I made for the other class. It's a little bit more detailed. So the last one, product listing, it looks like this. So what we're doing is we're taking our 6 images and we're putting them into 6 little blocks. in a kind of like a table, but it's not a table because you'll notice that there's no table um, codes in this page. So how we're doing that is with a grid, and that's why at the end we have to do a grid clear. And so how the grid is set up is by limiting the widths and the heights of these blocks. And so each of these blocks is given a division name, and they're all the same. I hope you can see that they're all the same in the way that they work. That is, each one of these blocks is identical in its characteristics to each of the other blocks. And that means that we can style them all the same. And so to style them all the same, we'll make them all the members of the same class. And so a class is something which there can be multiples of that class. So that's what we've done here. If you look at it, this looks like a lot of work, but what it is it's just this little bit of code repeated 6 times. The only difference between any of these and the one above or the one below is the name of the um, image that's being shown. Otherwise, they're the same. And so what are they? Well, of course, the description is part of the name, but each of them is set up so that if you see, we've got a division which we've given a class name, and then within it we have 2 more divisions which we've given class names, and actually all of those class names are repeated. So this is the same class as that, and then this um, inside that is the same class as inside that. So we've got our products, our product images, and our descriptions. So each of those will be styled the same. So the product is for this entire div here. And so that's going to be talking about how do we make this block. Whereas the product image is just about the image itself sitting inside the block. And then the description is just about this name sitting at the bottom of that block. So we style the product. The product contains the image and it contains the description. And that happens 6 times. And so that's why we got the repetition. So that sets up this grid. And so at the end, we have to clear the grid. And so we make it a special little div, and we actually give it a cool name like grid clear. We made up that name, but then the code that we use is clear to clear it off so it doesn't continue on after that. So all of this other stuff at the top we've done before. The new stuff is for our new classes. So we've got a class just for the image. So and what we do is we set the height on it. We align it to the center. And then what else we got going here? As in the product box, so the image we've set the height to 258. Then the product box itself, we've set the width to 258. And then we put a border around it. We floated it to the left so that they all line up. That's actually quite important, that float there, so that they all line up, stack beside each other. If you didn't have that, they're going to be a mess all over the page. And yeah, so we got a nice little border line around it, margins top and bottom so that the images don't touch the edges there. The product description, that's this thing where the name of the phone is. And so what we're
Sir,
doing there is we're just
my
aligning it.
friend want to join. Can you let them in?
Yes, sorry. Okay. Yes, so they should come in now. Um, and yeah, so that's basically it. The text decoration um, for the tag with the images on it. Is it? Well, where's the A? No, that's for our hyperlinks. Do we have hyperlinks? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so we have a hyperlink, but the hyperlink is when we click on the image, I guess. Um, and that's kind of it. Uh, that's the you've got. I'll slow this down here so you can see all of the code as and let me just in summary, all this stuff here, all the text and the table, you've already got that. You'll download that when you download the dist 6. So looking at the first document, what you will then have to do is you'll have to edit it by adding your divs. And the first document's only got one div, and you can call it what you like, but whatever you call it, you have to treat it this way. Container is a good way to call it, because if you look at other YouTube videos or watch some things online somewhere, somebody working on web pages, container is a fairly standardized way of naming a div for a page. And so we got container, and then, as I said, all this other stuff is already there. Nothing new there. The only thing that's new in the first page is that we style the container. Oh, and we style the body. We style the body and the container. We have to style the body so that we get our color in the background, that nice gray color. And we have to style the container to only take up 800 pics, and so that the background is left there. So that's the first one. So in summary. So in summary, and the second one is kind of the same. Those two things are the same. But what we've done in the second one is that we have two columns, and we set up the columns by limiting their width. Um, and so we have a couple of divs there, one for the image and one for everything else sitting inside the container div. So we do the container div same as we did with the first page, but we add inside of it a couple more divs, and we do a grid clear at the ends to get rid of the columns. And so, yeah, that's that one. Just two. When you look at the styling of those, you'll see that we've limited the width of the photo to 200 pics. We use so with widths and heights, you can use different units for styling them, right? You can say pix, which is going to be a sort of an absolute value of that height. That width in this case is going to be 200 pix. It's fixed. In this one here, we actually make it relative to the window. So a width of 100% means however is the size of that window, that will be the width of the photo. And so when we do something with the window size, we see that the width could change with it, right? It's not, well, there's an absolute limit on this, right? This has to be 600 and this has to be 200. But I think the image can sort of move within that. But given that the column is fixed at 200, yeah, there's not much we can do. So you see that's kind of different. If we hadn't had those fixed things, then this would crunch down a bit. So if I did this, I could do this differently. I could make this 20% just to show you. I mean, you don't have to do this. This is not for you to do, but it's just I'm just trying to illustrate something. So renew it. And then when oh, well, I think I need to do that on the other one too. Photo image 100%. This one I'm going to make 60%. And renew. Okay. Now you see what it's sort of crunched down a little better. Not as it. I don't know if you can see that the actual size of that image changed a bit. Not much, but yeah, crunched down a little bit. I mean, we do have some limits. I guess it's on the table. Oh, where's the table? Border collapse, padding 5 pix. Yeah, see the table headings. We've got a limit. Yeah, we could do all of these to get the result that I'm looking at. I mean, this is not part of what you're supposed to do, but I'm just sort of playing with it to try and demonstrate that thing, right? Is there, okay, the containers 800, the paddings. Let's try again. I'm trying to demonstrate stretching and crunching. Still didn't. Am I in the right one? Product details. Yeah, this is product details, right? Yeah. Anyway, so it stretches a bit more than it would. I wonder if you can see the effect I'm trying to get is that that changing size. Anyways, you don't have to do that. Later on, we'll play around with the percents. What you need to do with yours is you need to have these as pixels. and pixels will be absolute and unchanging. And so I'll go back and make all those back to pixels. I was just sort of playing around. Anyway, so that's kind of it. Yeah, maybe the last one is a bit more sort of fun. Um, let's rotten, rotten Zoom. I'm going up there trying to do this, and it keeps giving me the Zoom menu. So the last one maybe is the more trickier one because it. Oh, where's my? Did I close that? Um, mm, so I. Yeah. Yeah. The last one is maybe the more trickier one because it has these boxes and you need this grid thing. And so it has a lot of divs, but basically what you do with this one is you have your div container, right? Do, do one phone at a time, right? One phone at a time. So this is how you do one phone. And then you're just going to take that, copy paste 6 times and change the names of the phones, and that will basically build it up because each of these is just a copy of that. So you got, so really it's just a, and you'll see what that is it's a div with 2 divs inside of it. And so you're going to copy and paste that 6 times, change the names of the phones, and change the descriptions, and you'll be right. I think I'm going to stop talking about that now.
Sir,
Yes.
can I share my screen? I have a little problem with Lab 5, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think I want to stop my share, and I'm going to make it so that you can share. Yeah, go ahead. And I'm going to stop.
Okay. Just